Now, as a rule, I try and avoid the 1 level dip into Hexblade into 19 Paladin. Why? Well, because go look back at every single Paladin video I have ever done, and you will find a comment saying this build would be better with 1 Hexblade. Yeah, I know, Hexblade is really overtuned, and I kind of get sick of seeing it on my Paladin builds. But with this particular build, it just fit too well and did too much for it, so here's me breaking my rule. This is the Deathbringer. In order to pull off this build, I went variant human with the polearm master feat. As for our stats, charisma is our primary, constitution is our secondary, strength is our tertiary, but we need to make sure it's at least 15 for heavy armor, and then anything remainder we're going to put into wisdom for saves. As for our levels, we're going to go 1 level into Hexblade, and then the remainder into Oathbreaker Paladin. Now that first level of Hexblade, we're going to pick up the spear and shield, and that's going to be our hex weapon for the rest of the game. So recently I've talked about how the dueling fighting style mixed with the shield and spear with the polearm master is a pretty nasty package, and we're going to use the same package here. For this build, we're going to be pushing charisma as hard and as fast as possible, and there's a couple reasons why. The first is Oathbreaker's channel divinity, Dreadful Aspect. This is a seriously nasty channel divinity, and I count it as essentially a fight-winning spell. This gives us a pretty unprecedented amount of control for a martial, and on top of our already good damage, it has great synergy. We can answer multiple combats now. Another thing Hexblade is going to do for us, of course, is Hexblade's Curse. This is going to increase our damage output turn by turn by turn, but it also increases our range of crits, which opens up opportunities for those massive smites. So if you're going up against a boss, it's probably a good time to use your Hexblade's Curse. Of course, once we hit level 6, we're going to get the amazing Aura of Protection, which is made better by only investing in charisma. Next comes our level 7 aura, Aura of Hate, the Oathbreaker specific aura. This is the reason I decided I had to go Hexblade for this build. If I weren't to go Hexblade, in order to maximize this, you need to maximize your strength and charisma, and we just do not have enough stats to do that. By making us only have to maximize our charisma, we get that plus 10 damage that this aura offers on every single attack way earlier, and it's just so juicy, so I had to go with the Hexblade for this build. Now think about that, we have 3 attacks with our spear, each doing plus 12 damage apiece. That is a nasty amount of damage, and that's including our aura, our normal bonus to our weapon attacks, as well as the dueling fighting style. Now we are so stat efficient at this point that there is many things we can do, many feats we can take to branch off from here. You can go more tanky, you could take the Great Weapon Master, switch over to a glaive, and start making your attacks with that -5 in order to have plus 20 damage output on every single one of your attacks, which is just nutty. Now, because our damage output is so high, before we're using Great Weapon Master, our threshold, our AC threshold for when we should use Great Weapon Master actually decreases. The reason for this is we are punished more for missing when we do more damage at base. So this is probably only worth it if we can reasonably expect to have advantage pretty often. One of the ways to do that is the darkness combo. We take 1 more level into warlock, and we get the Devil's Sight invocation, which we then mix with Oathbreaker's darkness spell. And one of the nice things with this setup is that we have the Fine Steed, so we are able to cast darkness on our glaive, run in there and hit enemies, and run outside of our allies and enemies range so that we're not affecting the battlefield negatively for our teammates. And because we are covered in full darkness, they can't get opportunity attacks on our horse, so it always has dash. So our movement is always 120 feet, which is plenty of movement to make this work. However, this of course only works if there's enough open space for us to move about. If we're in closed quarters, this will not be a viable strategy. At the end of the day, this is a nasty character through and through. We have solid ranged options, fantastic melee options, our defenses are solid, and there's just not many situations we don't have answers to, including mobs. It's hard to find a character this well-rounded. I would love to hear how you guys feel about Hexblade. Let me know in the comments down below. I want to give a special shout out to one of our Patreons, Ambrose. Ambrose inspired this build and is in general just a great character builder. I really appreciate your support, brother. And if you want to show support to the channel like Ambrose and get some awesome benefits along the way, consider checking out our Patreon. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.